Emily Thompson gazed out the rain-streaked window of their rented U-Haul as it wound along the narrow highway toward Willow Cove, a sleepy coastal village tucked into Oregon's rugged shoreline. The Pacific Ocean churned gray and restless to their left, while dense evergreens pressed in from the right, their branches heavy with mist. It was late September, and the air already carried the sharp bite of approaching winter. Jordan, her husband of 2 years, gripped the wheel with a mix of excitement and nerves, his dark hair tousled from the long drive from Seattle. "This is it, Em," he said, flashing her a grin. "Our fresh start. No more cramped apartment life, just us, the sea, and whatever adventures this old cottage has in store." Emily smiled back, though a flutter of uncertainty stirred in her chest. Jordan had inherited the place from his great-aunt Edith, a woman he'd barely known who had passed away quietly in a nursing home the previous spring. The cottage was modest, a 2-story affair with weathered clapboard siding and a wraparound porch that overlooked a tangled backyard merging into the woods. According to the lawyer's photos, it sat at the edge of town, isolated but charming, with only a few neighbors scattered along the gravel road. They arrived just as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows through the fog. The cottage smelled of salt air and faint mustiness as they unloaded boxes. Emily claimed the upstairs bedroom, its slanted ceiling and dormer windows offering views of the treetops. Jordan busied himself in the kitchen, unpacking pots and pans while humming an old rock tune. Their dog Baxter, a scruffy terrier mix they'd adopted last year, darted around, sniffing every corner with enthusiastic tail wags. That first evening, they took a walk to stretch their legs, following an overgrown path that skirted the backyard and led into the woods. The ground was soft underfoot, carpeted with fallen needles and leaves turning crimson and gold. Aunt Edith must have loved the privacy here, Emily mused, linking her arm with Jordan's. It's like our own little world. But as they crested a small rise, the trees thinned, revealing a glimpse of something unexpected. An old Victorian manor, its turreted silhouette rising like a forgotten relic against the darkening sky. It was perhaps 100 yards away, separated by a stretch of wild underbrush, but close enough that its upper windows caught the fading light. "Whoa, that's straight out of a Gothic novel," Jordan said, stopping short. "Didn't the lawyer mention anything about neighbors?" Emily shook her head, a chill prickling her skin despite her jacket. The manor looked abandoned at first glance, peeling paint, overgrown vines climbing the walls. But then she noticed a faint glow in one of the tower windows. Maybe it's empty, or some eccentric recluse lives there? They shrugged it off and headed back, but the image lingered in Emily's mind as they prepared dinner. Over pasta and wine, they chatted about plans. Jordan starting his remote tech job, Emily setting up her freelance graphic design studio in the spare room. Baxter curled up by the fireplace, content. That next morning, Mrs. Harland arrived unannounced, a plump woman in her 70s with a basket of homemade muffins and a warm smile. She lived 2 doors down, the closest neighbor on their quiet lane. "Welcome to Willow Cove, dears," she said, her voice carrying a faint lilt from years in the area. "I'm Gladys Harland, been here since the 70s. Your aunt was a quiet sort, kept to herself mostly, but this town's friendly enough if you don't mind the rain." They invited her in for coffee, and she regaled them with local lore, the annual crab festival, the best spots for clamming, and warnings about the tricky tides. When Emily casually mentioned the manor visible from their yard, Mrs. Harland's expression shifted subtly. "Ah, the old Whitaker place. Been in the family for generations, but it's just one gal there now, I think. Lena something or other. Keeps odd hours. Best not to bother her. She's not the social type." Jordan nodded, intrigued. "We saw it from the woods. Looks like it could use some work." Mrs. Harland chuckled. "That's putting it mildly. Rumors fly about that house. Ghost stories from when it was a rest home back in the day. But don't pay them mind. Just enjoy your new home." After she left, Emily and Jordan tackled yard work, raking leaves and trimming back the encroaching brambles. The autumn air was crisp, filled with the scent of damp earth and pine. Baxter romped around, chasing squirrels. But as the afternoon wore on, Emily felt a nagging sensation, like eyes on her back. She glanced up toward the woods and froze. In the manor's tower window, two figures stood motionless, a man and a woman, middle-aged from what she could tell, their outlines stark against the glass. They weren't moving, just watching. "Jordan?" she called softly, not taking her eyes off them. He looked up from his pile of branches, following her gaze. "What the—" He squinted. "Are they staring at us?" The figures didn't wave or acknowledge them. They simply remained, gazes fixed across the distance. A fog began to roll in from the coast, blurring the view, but Emily could still feel the weight of their attention. Heart pounding, she turned away, pretending to focus on her rake. But when she snuck another peek minutes later, they were still there, unmoved. That night, as they lay in bed with the wind howling outside, Emily whispered, "Do you think they're still watching?" Jordan pulled her close. "Probably just curious about the new folks. We'll introduce ourselves tomorrow, if it bothers you." But sleep came fitfully, and in the quiet hours before dawn, Emily thought she heard a faint rustling in the woods, closer than it should be. She sat up, peering into the darkness, but saw nothing. Yet the unease lingered, a shadow creeping into their idyllic new life. What if those watchers weren't just curious? What if they were waiting for something?
The rain started in earnest the next day, a steady drizzle that turned the backyard into a muddy quagmire. Emily stared out the kitchen window while sipping her morning coffee, the manor barely visible through the veil of mist. The figures from yesterday were gone, or at least she couldn't see them. Jordan, ever the optimist, suggested they push through with their outdoor chores. "Can't let a little weather stop us," he said, pulling on his boots. "Besides, it'll give Baxter some exercise." Emily hesitated, but agreed, bundling up in a waterproof jacket. They spent the morning clearing debris from the garden beds, the rhythmic scrape of rakes providing a soothing counterpoint to the patter of rain. Baxter splashed through puddles, his fur matted and joyful, but as Emily knelt to pull weeds, that familiar prickle returned. She looked up, and there they were again, the man and woman in the tower window, standing side by side like sentinels. Their faces were indistinct at this distance, but she could swear their eyes were locked on her. Trying to shake it off, Emily waved tentatively, her hand cutting through the air in a friendly arc. "Hello?" she called, though her voice was swallowed by the wind. No response. The figures didn't budge, didn't wave back. It was as if they were statues, frozen in place. Jordan noticed her stillness and followed her line of sight. "Again?" he muttered, wiping rain from his brow. "This is getting weird. Maybe they're bird watching or something." Emily forced a laugh. "With no binoculars? Yeah, right." But inside, a knot of discomfort tightened. They worked in silence for a while longer, pretending not to notice, but the constant surveillance made every movement feel exposed, vulnerable. Back inside for lunch, they dried off and heated soup. "I found something upstairs," Emily said, pulling out a bundle of yellowed letters from her pocket. She'd discovered them while organizing the attic that morning, a stack tied with faded ribbon, dated from the 1940s. "These were Aunt Edith's, I think, or maybe older. They mention a dispute with the Whitaker family over land boundaries, something about unwelcome eyes in the trees." Jordan skimmed one, his brow furrowing. "Creepy coincidence, but it's ancient history. Let's not read too much into it." After eating, Jordan booted up his laptop for work, diving into code for his software project. Emily settled in her makeshift studio, sketching logos for a client. But her mind wandered. She opened a browser and typed Whitaker Manor, Willow Cove History. The results were sparse. a local history blog, mentioning it as a former sanatorium for tuberculosis patients in the early 1900s, closed after a scandal involving missing funds. A few forum posts speculated about hauntings, but nothing concrete. One user claimed, "People say shadows move in those windows at night. Avoid if you value your peace." The afternoon brought more rain, but they ventured out again to finish the yard. The watchers were still there, unmoving. Emily's skin crawled. She imagined them discussing her and Jordan, plotting in whispers. To distract herself, she called Theo, the handyman Mrs. Harlan had recommended. He arrived promptly, a burly man in his 40s with a toolbox and a no-nonsense attitude. "What needs fixing?" he asked, surveying the porch. As he hammered loose boards, Emily mentioned the manor casually. Theo paused, his expression turning guarded. "Lena Whitaker's place. She's the last of the line, lives alone from what I hear. Fixed a roof once, paid cash, no chit-chat. Folks say she likes her privacy. Best to respect that around here." Jordan joined them, probing further. "We've seen people in the windows, watching us." Theo laughed dryly. "Could be reflections, or maybe she's got company. But if it bothers you, plant some evergreens along the fence line. Blocks the view come spring." He finished up and left, but his words lingered like the mist. That evening, as dusk fell, strange rustling echoed from the woods, branches snapping, leaves crunching underfoot. Baxter growled low in his throat, hackles raised. Jordan grabbed a flashlight and stepped onto the porch, shining the beam into the trees. Nothing. "Probably deer," he said, though his voice lacked conviction. Emily nodded, but sleep evaded her. Around midnight, the sounds returned, closer this time. She nudged Jordan awake. "Listen." They lay still, hearts racing, as the noises circled the cottage. Then silence. In the morning, Emily stepped outside to find a single muddy footprint on the porch steps, too large for either of them, imprinted with an unfamiliar tread. It pointed toward their door, as if someone had stood there, watching, waiting. Who or what had been out there in the night?
The footprint haunted Emily all day, a stark reminder that their isolation might not be as peaceful as they'd hoped. She scrubbed it away with a brush, but the image stayed etched in her mind. Jordan tried to downplay it. Could be Theo's from yesterday or even a delivery guy, but his eyes betrayed worry. They decided to install basic security cameras, ordering a set online with overnight shipping. In the meantime, they stuck to indoor tasks, organizing the attic and basement to avoid the backyard's watchful gaze. Baxter's behavior shifted too. The usually playful dog now paced by the back door, whining and scratching as if sensing an intruder. One afternoon, while Jordan was on a conference call, Emily let Baxter out for a quick run. He bolted toward the woods, barking furiously, and disappeared into the underbrush. Panic surged through her. "Baxter, come back!" She grabbed a coat and followed, calling his name. The path was slick with mud, branches snagging her sleeves. Deeper in, the manor's outline loomed larger, its windows dark. Baxter's barks grew distant, then stopped abruptly. Heart pounding, Emily pushed forward until she found him cowering by a fallen log, fur raised, a fresh scratch along his flank. "What happened, boy?" she whispered, scooping him up. As she retreated, she glanced back, and there they were, the two figures in the tower, staring down as if they'd witnessed the whole thing. Back home, she bandaged Baxter's wound, the dog's whimpers tugging at her. Jordan finished his call and examined it. "Looks like he tangled with thorns or a raccoon, poor guy." But Emily wasn't convinced. That evening, over takeout pizza from the village's lone diner, she video-called her sister, Mia, back in Seattle. Mia's face filled the screen, concern creasing her features as Emily recounted the watchers and the footprint. "That sounds sketchy, Em. Have you talked to the police?" "Not yet.
It feels silly, like we're overreacting to nosy neighbors. Mia leaned closer. Install those cameras ASAP, and if it gets weirder, I'm coming down there myself. The call lifted Emily's spirits, but as night fell, the wind picked up, carrying faint strains of music from the direction of the manor, ethereal, like an old phonograph playing a waltz. It drifted in and out, haunting and discordant. Jordan heard it too, cracking the window to listen. What is that? Sounds ancient. They closed the curtains tight, but the melody seeped through, unsettling their dreams. The next day, Theo returned to help mount the cameras, his truck rumbling up the drive. As he worked, Emily probed him about the manor's history. Mrs. Harlan mentioned it was a sanatorium. Any truth to the ghost stories? Theo hammered a bracket into place, pausing thoughtfully. Back in the 20s, yeah. Patients came for the sea air, but some never left. Rumors of experiments, folks vanishing. But that's just tall tales. Lena's harmless, far as I know. Though she does play that old music sometimes. Says it calms her nerves. His words added a layer of intrigue, but the cameras brought some relief, their feeds accessible via an app on their phones. That night, a storm rolled in, thunder rumbling over the ocean. Power flickered, then cut out entirely, plunging the cottage into darkness. Emily lit candles, the flames casting eerie shadows on the walls. Baxter growled at the back door. Jordan checked his phone. The cameras were offline without electricity. Great timing, he grumbled. Then a low hum started. The generator they'd set up kicked in partially, restoring minimal lights. But as Emily glanced at the app, it refreshed with cached footage from just before the outage. A shadowy form, humanoid and cloaked in fog, approaching the fence line from the woods. It paused, seeming to look directly at the camera, before melting back into the trees. "Jordan, look at this," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. He stared at the screen, face paling. "That's no animal. Someone was out there." The storm raged on, rain lashing the windows. They huddled together, listening for any sign of approach. Hours passed in tense silence, until a distant crack, like a branch breaking, echoed from the backyard. Jordan grabbed a flashlight, but Emily held him back. "Don't go out there." As the first hints of dawn pierced the clouds, the power returned, but when they reviewed the full footage, the shadowy figure was gone from the recording, as if erased. Had it been a glitch, or something more sinister lurking just beyond their sight?
The erased footage left them rattled, a digital ghost that defied explanation. Emily replayed it obsessively on her phone, zooming in on the blurred shape. "It has to be a person," she insisted over breakfast. Jordan nodded, his usual optimism frayed. "We can't ignore this anymore. Let's go over there, introduce ourselves, ask about the music and the watchers. Maybe it's all a misunderstanding." Emily agreed, reluctantly, though her stomach churned at the thought. They leashed Baxter, who tugged eagerly toward the woods, and set off on the winding path. The air was heavy with post-storm dampness, puddles reflecting the overcast sky. As they neared the manor, details emerged, cracked stone steps leading to a grand but faded porch, windows shrouded in dusty curtains. The tower loomed above, its window empty for once. Jordan knocked firmly on the heavy oak door. Silence stretched, broken only by distant waves crashing. Then, footsteps approached, and the door creaked open to reveal a young woman in her mid-20s, with sharp features, pale skin, and dark hair pulled into a messy bun. She wore oversized sweaters and jeans, her eyes wary behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone clipped but polite. "Hi, we're Emily and Jordan from the cottage down the path," Emily said, forcing a smile. I'm Emily. This is my husband. The woman hesitated, then nodded. Lena Whitaker. What brings you here? Jordan glanced at Emily before speaking. We've noticed people in your tower window, a man and woman watching our yard. It's been a bit unsettling. Lena's expression remained neutral. I live alone, no one else here. Must be a trick of the light, reflections or something. Emily pressed gently. We've seen them multiple times, and last night during the storm, our camera caught someone near our fence. Lena crossed her arms. Not me. I don't wander in the woods at night. Maybe kids from town playing pranks. The interior behind her was dim, filled with stacked boxes and antique furniture draped in sheets. A faint, musty scent wafted out, mingled with something metallic. They chatted awkwardly for a few more minutes, Lena mentioning she inherited the place from her grandparents, working as a freelance archivist from home. She deflected questions about family or visitors. I value my solitude, she said pointedly. As they turned to leave, Emily spotted a glint in the hallway, an old phonograph, its needle poised over a record, perhaps the source of the music. Back at the cottage, Emily rummaged in the attic for the letters again, but one was missing, the one detailing the land dispute. Jordan, did you move them? He shook his head, puzzled. Had someone been inside? That afternoon, Theo stopped by to check the cameras. Hearing about their visit, he whistled low. Lena's an odd one. Fixed her plumbing last year, house full of old junk, like a museum. She mentioned relatives once, but clammed up quick. As evening fell, they relaxed with a movie, trying to reclaim normalcy. But around 10 p.m., a rustle at the front door made them jump. Jordan investigated, finding a folded note slipped under the mat. In block letters it read, "Stop looking, it's not your business." Emily's hands shook as she held it. This is from her, or them. They debated calling the police, but decided to wait, not wanting to escalate without proof. Sleep was fitful, Baxter standing guard at the foot of the bed. In the wee hours, scratching echoed from the bedroom window, slow, deliberate, like nails on glass. Jordan crept over, heart thundering, and peeked through a slit in the curtains. There, at the edge of the woods, stood the two figures, closer than ever, their forms silhouetted by moonlight. They weren't in the tower. They were here, on their property, watching with unblinking intensity. The sight of the figures so near shattered any remaining denial. Jordan slammed the curtain shut, whispering urgently, "They're out there, right at the tree line." Emily clutched Baxter, who whimpered softly. They spent the rest of the night in the living room, lights on, doors bolted. Come morning, no trace remained, no footprints, no signs of intrusion, but the note burned in their minds. Over coffee, they confided in Mrs. Harlan, inviting her over. She arrived with fresh scones, her face paling as they showed her the note and described the watchers. "Good heavens," she murmured, adjusting her glasses. "I remember something similar years back. A couple down the road complained of eyes in the night. Turned out to be transients camping in the woods, but the Whitaker place has always been peculiar. Lena's grandma was institutionalized there when it was a sanatorium. Maybe family secrets run deep." Her words fueled their paranoia. "Should we go to the police?" Jordan asked. Mrs. Harlan nodded. "Couldn't hurt. Officer Reyes is a good sort, handles the village calls." They drove into town that afternoon, the coastal road winding past crashing waves. At the small station, Officer Reyes, a stocky man with a mustache, listened patiently but skeptically. "Sounds like harassment, but without clear evidence. I'll drive by the manor, have a word with Lena. In the meantime, keep those cameras rolling." Back home, tension simmered. Emily snapped at Jordan over dinner prep. "We should have stayed in Seattle," revealing cracks in their unity. Jordan hugged her. "We'll get through this, together." The surprise came that evening. A knock revealed Mia, Emily's sister, suitcase in hand. "I couldn't wait. Booked a flight the second you hung up." Mia, vibrant and outspoken, brought energy, hugging them both. "Show me this creepy manor." The next day, while Jordan worked, the sisters explored the woods, Baxter tagging along. Mia chatted animatedly, easing Emily's nerves. But near the manor's boundary, Mia spotted something glinting in the leaves, a discarded wallet, weathered but containing faded photos of strangers. Weird. Lost hiker, maybe? As they pocketed it for the police, rustling surrounded them, branches shaking, footsteps circling. Baxter bolted, and they chased him back to the cottage, breathless. Officer Reyes called later. "Spoke with Lena. She denies everything, says she's alone, no visitors. House looked empty. Keep an eye out." That night, arguments flared again. Jordan wanted to confront Lena. Emily favored waiting. Mia mediated, suggesting they review camera feeds. Nothing unusual, until Baxter vanished. One moment, he was in the yard. The next, gone. They searched frantically, calling his name into the darkening woods. Hours passed, panic mounting. As midnight neared, Emily's phone rang, an unknown number. She answered hesitantly. A whisper slithered through. "Emily, where's your dog?" The line went dead, leaving her blood cold. Who knew her name? And what had they done to Baxter? The chilling call propelled them into action. Jordan slammed the phone down, face flushed with anger. "That's it, we're ending this now." With Mia's encouragement, they enlisted Theo, who arrived at dawn with tools and a determined scowl. "If Lena's hiding something, we'll find out, but we do this smart, no breaking in." Armed with flashlights and the wallet as potential leverage, they trekked to the manor under cover of fog. Officer Reyes had promised to check in later, but they couldn't wait. Peering through ground-floor windows, they glimpsed cluttered rooms, stacks of crates labeled with foreign scripts, antique relics scattered about. "Looks like a smuggling den," Mia whispered. A side door creaked open, unlocked. They slipped inside, the air thick with dust and secrecy. Upstairs, in a hidden alcove, they found mannequins dressed in dated clothes, positioned near windows with small cameras attached. Decoys, Jordan realized. She's been watching us through these. Lena confronted them in the hallway, eyes blazing. "What are you doing here? This is trespassing." Emily held up the note. "Explain this and the calls. Where's our dog?" Lena deflated slightly. I set up the mannequins to scare off intruders. My ex is stalking me, dangerous guy. The music, the shadows, it's all to make the place seem haunted. But the note wasn't me." Doubt lingered. Her story felt rehearsed. As they pressed, a noise from the basement drew them down. There, amid crates of black market artifacts, they found Baxter tied up, whining but alive, a tag around his neck. "Next time it's you." Chaos erupted. Lena bolted upstairs, but Theo blocked her. "You're smuggling stolen goods," Jordan accused, spotting shipping manifests. Lena confessed tearfully. "Inherited debts forced me into it. The Watchers keep locals away, but someone is using my setup, maybe my ex." A crash outside, footsteps fleeing into the woods, fog swirling. Mia tripped, twisting her ankle, but Jordan pushed on. Then, Emily's scream pierced the mist. From deeper in, where she'd wandered ahead, Jordan raced toward it, heart slamming, only to find the path empty, her footprints ending abruptly. Emily was gone.
vanished into the haze.
Jordan's world narrowed to the search, his shouts echoing unanswered. Theo and Mia caught up, helping comb the woods as dawn broke. Officer Reyes arrived with backups, alerted by a frantic call. "We'll find her," he assured, deploying search teams. The Matter raid uncovered more, hidden compartments with artifacts worth thousands, manifests linking Lena to an underground network. She broke fully under questioning. "My accomplice handled the dirty work. I didn't know about the dog or the abduction." The twist came midday. Mrs. Harlan was arrested at her home, receipts tying her to the smuggling. "Greed got the better of me," she admitted. "Lena's grandma left me out of the will. This was payback. I sent the note, made the call, to scare you off before you dug too deep." But Emily, tracks led to a concealed cellar beneath the manor, where she was found bound but unharmed, guarded by Lena's ex, a burly man hired for protection, who'd gone rogue, kidnapping her as leverage. A tense standoff ended with his arrest, Emily freed amid tears and relief. Back at the cottage, wounds healed slowly. Baxter recovered, Mia stayed to help. Jordan and Emily's bond strengthened through the ordeal, but trust in their haven shattered. They listed the property, planning a return to city life. Yet, as they packed, Jordan glanced upstairs and swore he saw a shadow in their own attic window, watching. Was it paranoia? Or had the fog concealed one last secret? Jordan had always been the type to overthink things, especially when it came to relationships. That's probably why, 8 months into dating Lena, he still found himself second-guessing every little glance or laugh she shared with someone else. Lena was different from anyone he dated before. Fierce, independent, with a laugh that could light up a room or cut through tension like a knife. She worked as a tour guide at Evergreen Lodge, a rustic retreat tucked deep in the misty forests of Washington's Olympic Peninsula. It was the kind of place where city folks like Jordan felt out of their element, surrounded by towering pines and the constant whisper of wind through the branches. Lena had grown up in a world of sharp suits and stock portfolios, her family knee-deep in finance back in Seattle. But she'd bolted from that life after college, trading boardrooms for backcountry trails. "I needed air," she'd told Jordan once, her eyes distant as she stared out over a foggy ridge. Real air, not the recycled stuff in skyscrapers. He admired that about her, even if it meant weekends like this one, driving 2 hours from his apartment in the city to her family's remote cabin for what she called the end-of-season blowout. The cabin wasn't some humble shack. It was a sprawling log structure with vaulted ceilings, a stone fireplace that could swallow a small tree, and enough bedrooms to house a dozen guests comfortably. Lena's parents had bought it as a getaway years ago, but they rarely used it now, too busy jetting off to conferences or whatever high-stakes deals kept them occupied. Their relationship with Lena was complicated. Polite emails, occasional checks in the mail, but no real warmth. Jordan had met them once over a stiff dinner in the city, and it felt more like a job interview than family time. "They're just wired that way," she'd shrugged. "Success over sentiment." This party was her idea, a way to celebrate wrapping up the summer tours with her lodge crew. About 20 people were expected, guides, cooks, even a few repeat guests who'd become friends. Jordan pulled his truck up the gravel drive that afternoon, the tires crunching over fallen needles. Lena was already there,
stringing fairy lights along the porch railing, her dark hair tied back in a ponytail that swayed with each movement. She waved him over with a grin, pulling him into a quick hug that smelled like pine sap and sunscreen. "About time you showed up," she teased, her voice light and playful. "I was starting to think you'd bail and leave me to handle this solo." "No way," Jordan replied, kissing her forehead. "I'd miss out on seeing you in hostess mode. Plus, I brought the good whiskey, the kind that doesn't come from a plastic bottle." She laughed, taking the bag from him. "My hero! Help me set up the bonfire pit? The gang's arriving soon, and I want everything perfect." As they worked side by side, stacking wood and arranging chairs in a circle around the pit, Jordan couldn't shake a nagging feeling. Lena had mentioned a new guy at work, Marcus, who joined mid-season. "He's great with the kayaking groups," she'd said offhandedly a few weeks back. "Super outgoing, knows all the best spots." Jordan hadn't pressed, but the way she talked about him stirred something insecure in his chest. He wasn't jealous by nature, or at least he didn't want to be, but Lena's job meant constant interaction with charming adventurers, and Jordan, with his desk job designing logos, sometimes felt like the boring counterpart. By dusk, cars started pulling in, headlights cutting through the gathering twilight. Laughter echoed as people spilled out, carrying coolers and guitars. Riley, Lena's best friend from the lodge, a bubbly redhead with a tattoo of a compass on her wrist, was first through the door. "This place is epic as always," she exclaimed, hugging Lena tightly. "Remember last year's storm? We almost floated away." Lena chuckled. "Don't jinx it. Weather's clear tonight." More arrivals followed, a couple of burly guides named Tom and Elise, who immediately started debating the best hiking routes. A quiet chef, Dario, hauling in trays of marinated skewers for the grill. And then Marcus. He showed up in a beat-up Jeep, his blonde hair tousled, wearing a flannel shirt that looked effortlessly cool. "Lena, killer spot!" he called out, striding over with a case of beer under one arm. He gave her a one-armed hug that lingered just a second too long for Jordan's liking. "Good to see you, man," Marcus said, turning to Jordan with a firm handshake. "Lena's told me all about you. Graphic designer, right? That's awesome. I've got zero creative bone in my body." Jordan forced a smile. "Yeah, keeps me busy. You must have some stories from the trails?" "Oh, tons," Marcus replied, launching into a tale about a bear sighting that had everyone gathered around laughing. Lena's eyes sparkled as she listened, adding her own quips. Jordan hung back, nursing a beer by the fire pit, watching the flames dance. He told himself it was nothing, just friendly banter. But when Marcus slung an arm around Lena's shoulders for a group photo, that knot in his stomach tightened. As the evening wore on, the group migrated inside for snacks and games. The cabin's great room filled with chatter, the air thick with the scent of wood smoke and grilling meat. Jordan stuck close to Lena, but she was in her element, flitting from conversation to conversation. At one point, he caught her checking her phone, her brow furrowing at a text before she shoved it back in her pocket. "Everything okay?" he asked quietly. She nodded quickly. "Just my brother being dramatic. Family stuff. Nothing new." Jordan didn't push. Lena's brother Kyle was a sore subject, a perpetual drifter who always seemed one step from trouble. But as the music cranked up and people started dancing, Jordan stepped out onto the porch for a breath of cool air. The forest loomed dark beyond the lights, branches swaying like silent sentinels. That's when he saw it. A faint silhouette at the edge of the trees, motionless, watching the cabin. His heart skipped. Was it an animal? A lost hiker? He stared, willing his eyes to adjust.
The figure didn't move, but something about it felt wrong, like it was waiting for the right moment.
The party was in full swing now, the cabin pulsing with energy as guests mingled between the great room and the outdoor bonfire. Jordan lingered on the porch a moment longer, his eyes scanning the tree line where the silhouette had been. But whatever, or whoever it was, had vanished into the fog that was starting to roll in from the mountains. He shook his head, chalking it up to nerves or maybe one too many shadows playing tricks. No point ruining the vibe over nothing. He headed back inside, the warmth and noise enveloping him like a blanket. Lena was at the center of it all, pouring drinks behind the makeshift bar they'd set up on the kitchen island. Marcus was right there with her, telling some animated story that had a cluster of people in stitches. And then the kayak flips, right? I'm underwater thinking this is it, when bam, the bear on the shore just stares at me like I'm the idiot. Laughter erupted, Lena's included. She caught Jordan's eye and waved him over. Join us. Marcus is on a roll with his near-death experiences. Jordan slid into the group, accepting a fresh whiskey from Lena. Up close, Marcus didn't seem so bad. Confident, sure, but not aggressive. Still, the way his gaze lingered on Lena made Jordan's skin prickle. He decided to play it smart, not confrontational. Sounds intense, Jordan said, clinking glasses with Marcus. Ever had one where you actually needed rescuing? He grinned, unfazed. Nah, I'm more the rescuer type. But hey, let's make this fun. Who's up for truth or dare? Old school, but it never fails to spice things up. Riley jumped in immediately. I'm game, but no lame questions. Make 'em juicy. The group formed a loose circle by the fireplace, flames crackling as the first rounds kicked off. Tom dared Elise to chug a mystery shot Dario whipped up, which turned out to be mostly hot sauce. Laughter filled the room. When it was Marcus's turn, Riley hit him with a truth. Worst date you've ever been on. He leaned back, thoughtful. Easy. Blind date set up by a buddy. She spent the whole night talking about her ex. Learn my lesson. Stick to people I meet organically. His eyes flicked to Lena for a split second, and Jordan felt that familiar twinge. Lena's turn came next. Marcus dared her. Call someone from your contacts and sing happy birthday to them, no matter who. She rolled her eyes but pulled out her phone, scrolling. Jordan noticed her hesitate over a name, probably Kyle, but finally picked Riley instead. The group howled as Lena belted out an off-key version, Riley pretending to be mortified. But as the game continued, Jordan couldn't ignore how Marcus kept steering questions toward Lena, probing about her life outside work. Seeking a distraction, Jordan excused himself to check the bonfire outside. The night air was cooler now, the fog thickening around the edges of the property. He tossed a log onto the flames, sparks flying up like tiny stars. Riley joined him a minute later, 2 beers in hand. You okay? You seem a bit distant? Jordan took the beer, grateful for the company. Yeah, just not big on crowds sometimes. Lena's crew is great, though. Riley nodded, staring into the fire. She's lucky to have you. Marcus is harmless, you know, just a flirt. But, hey, speaking of weird stuff, you hear about those cabin break-ins around here? Locals say it's squatters from the old mining trails. Stole some jewelry from a place up the road last month. Jordan's mind flashed to the silhouette. Really? Any details? Not much. They hit when owners are away, grab valuables quick. Uncle Vic mentioned it earlier. He's Lena's mom's brother, right? The guy with the stories. Said to keep doors locked. Uncle Vic was inside now, regaling a small group with tales of his days as a fisherman. He was in his 60s, weathered face framed by a gray beard, always carrying a flask he claimed was medicinal. He had met him briefly at a family gathering. The man was eccentric, but harmless. Back inside, the energy had shifted to dancing, someone cranking up a playlist on the speakers. Lena pulled Jordan onto the makeshift dance floor, a cleared space by the windows. "Come on, loosen up," she whispered, her hands on his shoulders. He tried, swaying to the beat, but his mind wandered. That's when he overheard Lena on her phone in the hallway, her voice low and tense. "Kyle, not now. I told you, I can't bail you out again. Those debts are yours to fix." She hung up abruptly, spotting Jordan. "Sorry, family drama. Brother's in a bind, again." "What's going on?" Jordan asked, concern creeping in. She sighed. "Old stuff. He borrowed money he shouldn't have. Nothing I can't handle." But her eyes darted away, and Jordan wondered what she wasn't saying. As the night wore on, the cabin grew louder, bottles clinking, stories flowing. Marcus challenged Jordan to a friendly arm wrestle at the kitchen table, which Jordan won narrowly, earning a slap on the back. "Good arm, man. No hard feelings." It felt like a truce, but Jordan wasn't convinced. Then a flicker. The porch lights dimmed for a second, then steadied. "Power surge?" someone joked. Jordan glanced out the window, the fog now a thick blanket swallowing the trees. He stepped to the back door for a look, twisting the knob. It swung open easily, unlocked. "Hey, who left this open?" he called out. No one owned up to it. The group shrugged it off as party chaos, but Jordan's pulse quickened. He locked it firmly, peering into the mist. Was that a rustle in the bushes, or just the wind?
The fog clung to everything like a living thing, muting the party's noise as Jordan stood at the back door, staring out. He told himself it was nothing. The door probably popped open from someone grabbing ice or wood, but Riley's story about break-in...
Good?
"Yeah," Jordan lied, forcing a smile. "Just needed a breather. This fog's intense. Feels like we're in a horror movie." She laughed. "Welcome to the peninsula. It rolls in fast. Come on, let's grab some air out front, away from the smoke." They slipped out the front door, the porch light casting a soft glow on the gravel drive. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth and pine. Lena leaned against the railing, tilting her head back to look at the stars peeking through the haze. "Thanks for coming tonight. I know it's not your scene, but it means a lot." Jordan wrapped an arm around her. "Wouldn't miss it. Your friends are fun. Marcus included, I guess." She raised an eyebrow. "Jealous?" "A little, but I'm working on it." Before she could respond, a twig snapped in the darkness beyond the light's reach. Jordan tensed, peering into the fog. There it was again, the silhouette from earlier, standing at the property's edge, near where the drive met the forest road. It was unmistakably human, still as a statue. "You see that?" Jordan whispered. Lena squinted. "What? An animal?" "No, stay here." Liquid courage, or stupidity, pushed him forward. He walked down the steps, heart pounding. "Hey, can I help you?" The figure shifted, taking a few deliberate steps closer. Now Jordan could make out details. A man, mid-40s maybe, wearing a dark jacket and jeans, face obscured by a hood and the dim light. He stopped just outside the porch glow. "Are the owners home?" the man asked, his voice gravelly like he'd smoked a pack a day for years. Jordan's skin crawled. It wasn't just the question, it was the certainty behind it, as if he already knew. "Who are you?" The man ignored him. "The Harrisons? Are they around? Got something for them." Lena's last name was Harrison. How did the stranger know? Jordan glanced back at Lena, who'd followed part way. "They're inside," he bluffed. "What do you need?" The man nodded slowly. "Okay, tell him hi." He turned and melted into the fog, footsteps fading down the road, no car engine, no lights, just gone. Jordan hurried back to Lena.
That was weird. He knew your family's name.
She frowned. Probably a neighbor or something. Dad knows people from his old deals. Let's not freak out. Party's still going. Back inside, Jordan couldn't shake the unease. He confided in Riley over by the snack table. Some guy outside asking about the Harrisons knew they might not be here. Riley's eyes widened. Like the break-in stories? Squatters scout places. Tell Uncle Vic he's paranoid about that stuff. Uncle Vic was nursing his flask in an armchair. Stranger, eh? Described like a ghost in the mist? He chuckled, but his eyes were serious. This area's got history. Old miners' cabins, folks down on luck. Lock up tight, kid. Marcus overheard, joining them. Need backup? I can check the perimeter. Jordan hesitated, then nodded. Sure, but let's not alarm everyone. The two stepped out, flashlights from their phones cutting through the fog. The property seemed quiet, no signs of disturbance. Lena's cool, Marcus said suddenly. You're lucky. Yeah, Jordan replied, guarded. What's your deal with her? Marcus shrugged. Just friendly, but if you're worried, I'm backing off. No drama intended. It felt sincere, easing some tension. Back inside, they found the group starting a card game. Jordan tried to relax, but Lena pulled him aside. About earlier, my family, we've had money issues. Dad invested bad, Kyle made it worse with loans. That's why the texts. Didn't want to drag you in. Jordan squeezed her hand. You can tell me anything. She smiled faintly. I know, just hate the mess. The night deepened, fog pressing against the windows like curious fingers. Creaks from the old cabin blended with laughter, but Jordan stayed alert. Then the doorbell chimed, sharp and unexpected. Everyone had been told to use the side path. The front was overgrown and rarely used. Who's that? Dario asked. Jordan's stomach dropped. I'll check. He approached the door, peering through the peephole. No one visible in the fog. Heart racing, he cracked it open, the chime echoing in his mind like a warning. Jordan swung the door wider, the fog swirling in like an uninvited guest. The porch was empty, no footsteps retreating, no car idling. Just the distant hoot of an owl and the rustle of leaves. He stepped out, flashlight beam sweeping the drive. Hello? His voice echoed back, swallowed by the mist. Nothing. He locked the door firmly and turned back inside, where the group had paused the card game. Probably kids pranking, he said, trying to sound casual. But his pulse thrummed, memories of the stranger fresh. Lena met his eyes, concern flickering. You sure? Yeah, let's keep the fun going. The party resumed, but Jordan's mind raced. He wandered upstairs to the hallway bathroom, splashing water on his face. The mirror reflected his tense expression, bags under his eyes from the drive and drinks. As he dried off, a faint thump came from down the hall, like a drawer closing softly. Curious, he peeked out. The master bedroom door, Lena's parents' room, was ajar, light spilling from within. He hadn't noticed anyone go up. Hello? He called quietly. Pushing the door open, his breath caught. The room was a disaster. Drawers yanked out, contents spilled across the floor. Jewelry boxes lay empty on the dresser, their velvet linings bare. The closet doors gaped, clothes tossed aside. A safe in the back cracked open with papers fluttering out. What the? Jordan muttered, stepping in. His foot crunched on shattered glass from a fallen frame. A shadow moved in the mirror's reflection, quick, darting behind him. He spun, but too late. The intruder lunged, tackling him to the ground. Air whooshed from Jordan's lungs as they hit the carpet. The man, the same hooded figure from outside, straddled him, hands clawing at Jordan's pockets like searching for something. Get off, Jordan gasped, panic surging. He bucked, shoving with all his strength. The intruder tumbled back, scrambling up. Jordan lunged forward, grabbing at the man's jacket. "Who are you?" The intruder twisted free, bolting for the open window. He dove out head first, landing on the sloped roof below with a heavy thud. Jordan rushed to the sill, seeing him slide down and drop into the side yard bushes. Footsteps pounded away into the fog. Breathing hard, he leaned against the frame, processing. The room reeked of sweat and desperation. He fumbled for his phone. No signal bars. Damn mountains. Downstairs, he burst into the great room. Someone just broke in, upstairs, robbed the master bedroom. Chaos erupted. Guests jumped up, voices overlapping. "Call the cops! What happened?" Lena pushed through, face pale. "Jordan, are you okay?" "Yeah. Guy tackled me, escaped out the window."
Marcus was at his side in seconds. "I saw movement outside earlier. Let's check the yard." They grabbed flashlights and hurried out, Riley tagging along. The fog made visibility near zero, but they found footprints in the mud leading toward the woods. "He's gone," Marcus said, shining his light on broken branches. "Fast bastard." Back inside, Lena surveyed the damage upstairs, her expression hardening. Mom's jewelry, Dad's documents. This wasn't random. Riley spotted something on the floor, a crumpled note half under the bed. She unfolded it. "Pay what's owed, or next time it's more than trinkets. R." "R?" Jordan asked. "Related to Kyle's debts?" Lena sighed, sinking onto the bed. "Maybe. Kyle borrowed from some rough people last year. Thought it was settled." Uncle Vic appeared in the doorway, flask in hand. "Heard the commotion? This reeks of payback. Your brother's always been sloppy." The group gathered downstairs as Jordan tried his phone again. Spotty signal, but enough to dial 911. "We need police at Evergreen Cabin Road. Burglary in progress. Intruder fled." While waiting, tension simmered. Dario passed out water, trying to calm nerves. Marcus pulled Jordan aside. "That guy, was he looking for something specific?" "Seemed like it. Grabbed at me like I had it." Lena joined them, voice shaky. "I should have told you more. Family's in deep. That investments, loans. Kyle dragged us in." Jordan hugged her. "We'll figure it out." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Lights flashed through the windows as 2 squad cars pulled up. Officers stepped in, notebooks ready. "Everyone stay put. Who's the homeowner?" Lena explained, leading them upstairs. Jordan gave his statement, describing the scuffle. One cop, a young woman, nodded. "Matches reports of a drifter in the area, but this note suggests motive." As they questioned guests, Jordan noticed Uncle Vic slipping out for air. Odd timing. When the cops asked for his alibi, he claimed he'd been in the kitchen the whole time, but Dario shook his head. "Nah, you were upstairs earlier." Vic's face tightened. "Must be mistaken." The lead officer eyed him. "Stick around, sir. We have questions." Jordan's mind whirled. Was Vic involved? The night had shattered into suspicion, and as the police dusted for prints, he wondered who else was hiding secrets. Rain began pattering against the cabin roof as the police wrapped their initial sweep, turning the fog into a steady downpour that isolated the property further. Guests huddled in the great room, the party's remnants, empty bottles, scattered cards, now feeling like relics of a different night. Jordan sat with Lena on the couch, her head on his shoulder, while officers bagged evidence upstairs. Detective Harlan, a burly man with a mustache that looked like it belonged in an old western, took charge. He'd arrived shortly after the uniforms, his truck sloshing through the mud. "Been with the department 20 years," he said, shaking Jordan's hand. "Know the Harrisons well. Your folks helped fund the lodge back in the day, Lena." She nodded wearily. "Yeah. What do you think happened?" "Targeted hit. That note's a clue. R ring a bell?" Lena hesitated. "Maybe. My brother Kyle's had dealings with a guy named Rocco, loan shark type. Kyle's in Seattle, but he owes big." Harlan's eyes narrowed. "We'll check him out. Anyone else with grudges?" Uncle Vic shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Family's got enemies from bad deals, but I ain't involved." The detective turned to him. "Where were you during the break-in?" "Down here, chatting," Vic insisted. But Elise piped up. "I saw you head upstairs about 10 minutes before Jordan yelled." Vic's face reddened. "Needed the bathroom, that's all." Harlan made a note. "Gambling debts, Mr. Vic? Word is you're in deep with the casino crowd." Vic stood abruptly. "This is bull. I'm family. Why would I rob my own kin?" "Sit down," Harlan ordered. "You're not going anywhere till we sort this." Jordan watched the exchange, pieces clicking. He pulled Lena aside to the kitchen. "Vic's acting shady. And Kyle, why didn't you mention Rocco before?" She rubbed her temples. "Didn't want to worry you. Kyle swore it was handled, but after tonight, I don't know." Their argument bubbled up. "You keep saying that, Jordan. Secrets like this, they put everyone at risk. I got tackled because of your family's mess." Lena's eyes flashed. "My family? You're judging us like you're perfect. Your job's safe, no drama, must be nice." "I'm here for you, but trust goes both ways." Marcus interrupted, carrying coffee mugs. "Hey, ease up. Tonight's rough on everyone. Jordan, I got your back. Let's focus on facts." Jordan nodded, but grateful, but surprised. "Thanks. Didn't expect that."
"People surprise you," Marcus said with a wink. "Lena's tough, but she needs support." As the rain intensified, Harlan gathered statements. Jordan mentioned the stranger's earlier visit, knew the family name, asked if owners were home. "Scouting," Harlan mused. "We'll run prints." Riley approached Jordan quietly. "I snooped a bit, found this in the safe remnants." She handed him a crumpled receipt for a wire transfer, signed by Kyle to R Investments. "Proof," Jordan whispered. "Kyle's tied in." He showed Lena, who deflated. "I'll call him, make him come clean." But cell service was spotty from the storm. Harlan used his radio to contact Seattle PD for a welfare check on Kyle. Hours ticked by, guests dozing or chatting in low tones. Jordan explored the safe's contents, more documents, bank statements showing massive withdrawals, emails about relocating assets. Lena's family wasn't just in trouble, they were hiding money, maybe illegally. Vic knew, Jordan realized. That's why he's nervous. Confronting Vic in the hallway, Jordan said, "Level with us. You in on this?" Vic sighed, defeated. "Not robbing, but I borrowed from Kyle's contacts. Thought the cabin had cash stashed." Before Jordan could respond, Harlan called out, "Prints match a known associate, Rocco's enforcer. And Vic, your name's on a debtor list." Vic bolted for the door, but Marcus tackled him. "Not so fast." As officers cuffed Vic, Jordan felt a mix of relief and betrayal. But digging deeper into the safe, he found a hidden compartment, empty, but with a label, insurance policy. What had been inside, and who really took it? The storm raged on, thunder rumbling like an omen. With Vic in cuffs, the cabin felt smaller, the rain hammering like accusations.
Harlan hauled him to a squad car, Vic muttering denials. "I didn't steal nothing, just looked around." "Save it for the station," Harlan grunted, slamming the door. Inside, the remaining guests buzzed with shock. Lena paced, phone in hand, as service flickered back. "Kyle's not answering. This is bad." Jordan comforted her. "We'll get answers. That's safe. Those documents scream laundering." Riley nodded. "Lodge funds? Your folks invested heavy. Maybe they funneled dirty money through tours?" Detective Harlan returned, wiping rain from his coat. Vic singing already. Says Kyle set up loans with Rocco, used cabin as collateral, but the intruder's still out there. Marcus cleared his throat. "About that, I need to come clean." He pulled out a badge from his pocket. "I'm undercover, Fish and Wildlife, but moonlighting for fraud unit. Posed as a guide to watch the lodge. Suspected money washing." Jordan stared. "You? The flirting was what, cover?" Marcus shrugged. "Partly. Needed to get close to Lena. Sorry, no real crush. But the rivalry kept you distracted while I snooped." Lena's jaw dropped. "You used us?" "Protected you," Marcus corrected. "Knew Rocco's crew was circling. That note, I planted a fake to flush him out." Twist hit Jordan like a gut punch. "So the burglary? Was it staged?" "No," Marcus said. "Real. But I tipped off Harlan. The safe's insurance policy? Proof of laundering. Emails, ledgers. I took it earlier. Safe kept." Harlan confirmed. "We're building a case. Your brother, Lena, he's the linchpin." Lena dialed Kyle again, this time connecting. "What the hell? Cabin robbed? Vic arrested? Rocco?" Kyle's voice crackled. "Sis, I'm sorry. Got in over my head. Rocco wants his cut. I hid docs in the safe. Thought they'd be safe." "You idiot!" Lena yelled. "People got hurt!" Thunder boomed, lights flickering. A crash from outside, glass shattering. Jordan rushed to the window, the intruder, drenched, smashing a side pane. "He's back!" Jordan shouted. Chaos. Guests scattered, Harlan drawing his gun. The man burst in, wild-eyed. "Where's the policy? Rocco needs it!" Marcus tackled him, but the intruder fought fierce, knocking over furniture. Jordan joined him, grabbing a fire poker. Riley screamed as a lamp shattered. In the melee, the intruder elbowed Marcus, lunging for Lena. "You Harrison's Oh!" Jordan swung the poker, clipping the man's shoulder. He howled, stumbling. Harlan cuffed him. "You're done." Panting, Jordan asked, "Why return?" "Missed the hidden stash," the man spat. "Rocco said, 'Finish it.'" With the intruder secured, truths poured out. Marcus revealed the policy implicated Lena's parents, too. They'd skimmed lodge profits to cover Kyle's debts. Lena broke down. "I suspected, but denied it. I'm sorry, Jordan." He held her. "We'll face it together." Police carted the intruder away, storm easing. Lena vowed to cooperate, cutting family ties if needed. Marcus apologized. "You two are solid. Helped crack this." As dawn broke, fog lifting, Jordan and Lena stood on the porch. Bond stronger, but shadows lingered. Kyle promised to turn himself in, but a final email on Lena's phone hinted at more accomplices. Was it over? Or just beginning?
The morning after brought a fragile calm, sunlight piercing the remaining clouds as police vans departed. The cabin bore scars, broken glass swept, furniture righted, but the emotional wreckage lingered. Jordan helped Lena pack evidence boxes for Harlan, their movements synchronized in quiet understanding. "Kyle's at the station now," Lena said, taping a box, "turning over everything. Parents are flying back. Gonna be a mess." Jordan nodded. "You did right. Cooperating shows strength." She smiled weakly. "Thanks to you. I was blind to the red flags. Your caution saved us." Riley hugged them goodbye. "Stay in touch. This bonds people." Marcus shook Jordan's hand. "No hard feelings. Job's job, but you're good folk." "Water under," Jordan replied. Uncle Vic, released on bail but facing charges, slunk away without a word.
As guests left, Jordan and Lena walked the property, rain fresh air cleansing. This changes us, Jordan reflected. Trust deeper now. Lena agreed. Quitting the lodge, maybe start something new. Together, city life? He grinned. Sounds good. But hindsight nagged. How close danger came, how secrets nearly broke them. The ordeal revealed resilience, turning crisis to connection. Yet a lingering text from an unknown number, not over yet. Fog might lift, but echoes remained.
The truck rumbled down the dusty gravel road, kicking up clouds of reddish dirt that swirled like forgotten memories in the late afternoon sun. Leela pressed her forehead against the cool window, watching the endless rows of cornstalks blur past. They stretched out like silent sentinels, their leaves rustling in the breeze as if whispering secrets to one another. At 10 years old, she wasn't sure if this move to the old farmhouse in rural Iowa was a fresh start or just another way to run from the pain. Her mother had died 6 months ago in a car crash on a rainy highway, and the city apartment felt too empty without her laughter filling the rooms. Now, her father, Marcus, had decided they needed space, lots of it. Theo, her 6-year-old brother, bounced in the back seat, clutching his stuffed bear, oblivious to the weight hanging over them all. "Look, kids, there it is," Marcus said, his voice forcing cheer through the exhaustion etched on his face. He was a tall man with calloused hands from years as a mechanic, but lately his eyes carried shadows that no tool could fix. The farmhouse came into view, a weathered 2-story structure with peeling white paint and a wraparound porch sagging slightly on one side. An old barn loomed behind it, its red roof faded to a dull crimson, surrounded by overgrown fields that hadn't been tended in years. It was nothing like their bustling neighborhood back in Chicago, where sirens wailed at night and streetlights chased away the dark. They unloaded boxes under the golden light of sunset, the air thick with the scent of earth and hay. Leela carried her backpack inside first, stepping over the creaky threshold into a living room that smelled faintly of dust and old wood. The furniture was sparse, a worn couch, a rickety table, and shelves lined with forgotten knickknacks from the previous owners. "This place has character," Marcus muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. Theo darted ahead, his sneakers thudding on the hardwood floors. "I get the room with the big window," he shouted, disappearing up the stairs. Leela followed more slowly, her fingers trailing along the banister, feeling the grooves where countless hands had worn it smooth. Upstairs, the hallway branched into 3 bedrooms. She chose the one at the end, with slanted ceilings and a view of the cornfields stretching to the horizon. It felt cozy, almost inviting, until she noticed the faint scratches on the doorframe, like tiny claws had scraped at the wood. Shaking off the chill, she unpacked her clothes into the dresser, arranging her books on a small shelf. Theo's room was next door, and she could hear him giggling as he jumped on his bed. That first night, dinner was simple, sandwiches on paper plates amid the chaos of boxes. Marcus tried to make it fun, telling stories about his own childhood on a farm, but his smiles didn't reach his eyes. "We'll fix this place up, make it ours," he said, ruffling Theo's hair. Leela nodded, forcing a grin, but her mind wandered to her mom, wondering if she'd approve of this isolated life. As the sun dipped below the fields, casting long shadows through the windows, they headed to bed early, exhausted from the drive. Leela lay under her quilt, staring at the cracked plaster ceiling. The house groaned softly as it settled, the wind whistling through tiny gaps in the walls. It was quieter than the city, almost too quiet, making every small sound amplified. She closed her eyes, drifting towards sleep, when a faint whisper tickled her ear. It was soft, like a sigh carried on the breeze, murmuring words she couldn't quite catch. Her eyes snapped open. The room was still, moonlight filtering through the thin curtains. "Just the wind," she whispered to herself, pulling the covers higher. But then Theo's voice echoed from down the hall. "Leela, did you see her?" She sat up, heart thumping. Slipping out of bed, she padded to his door and peeked in. He was sitting cross-legged on his mattress, staring at the full-length mirror propped against the wall, a relic left behind by the old owners. "See who?" she asked, stepping inside.
The air felt cooler here, raising goosebumps on her arms. "The lady in the mirror," Theo said matter-of-factly, his wide eyes reflecting the dim nightlight. "She was smiling at me, but then she went away." Leela glanced at the mirror, seeing only their reflections, her messy brown hair and his tousled curls. "You were dreaming, buddy. Mirrors play tricks in the dark." She tucked him back in, but as she turned to leave, a chill ran down her spine. For a split second, the mirror's surface seemed to ripple, like water disturbed by a pebble. Back in her room, Leela tried to shake it off. Marcus had always said kids have vivid imaginations, especially after big changes. But sleep evaded her. She tossed and turned until dawn crept in, painting the sky pink. The next morning, with birds chirping outside, the night felt like a distant memory. They spent the day unpacking, Marcus hammering loose boards while Theo played in the yard. Leela ventured to the barn, curious about the outbuilding her dad mentioned fixing up for a workshop. The barn doors creaked open, revealing dusty beams of light piercing the gloom. Old tools hung on the walls and hay bales moldered in the corners. As she poked around, her foot kicked something metallic. Bending down, she unearthed a small silver locket, tarnished but intricate, with a delicate chain. Inside, a faded photograph showed a woman with kind eyes, holding a baby. "Who were you?" she murmured, pocketing it to show her dad later. But as she turned to leave, a soft cry echoed from the rafters above, like a child's wail cut short. She froze, scanning the empty space. The sound didn't repeat, but the air grew heavy, pressing on her chest. Heart racing, she bolted back to the house with the locket clutched in her hand. What if this place held more than just dust and memories? And what if the whispers weren't just in her head?
The days blurred into a rhythm of chores and exploration, the farmhouse slowly transforming from a stranger's relic into something resembling home. Leela helped Marcus paint the porch, the fresh white coat masking the years of neglect. Theo chased butterflies in the yard, his laughter a bright spot against the vast, whispering cornfields that encircled them like a golden sea. But beneath the normalcy, an undercurrent of unease lingered, like the faint hum of insects at dusk. Leela couldn't forget the cry in the barn or Theo's talk of the mirror lady. She kept the locket hidden in her drawer, afraid to mention it and risk her dad's dismissal. One afternoon, with the sun high and merciless, Leela hopped on her bike, an old hand-me-down with chipped blue paint, and pedaled down the winding dirt path bordering the fields. The cornstalks towered over her, their tassels swaying in unison, creating a tunnel of green that swallowed sound. She rode aimlessly, the wheels crunching over pebbles, until she spotted another kid about her age sitting on a fence post, whittling a stick with a pocket knife. He had freckles across his nose and sandy hair peeking from under a baseball cap. "Hey," she called, slowing to a stop. "You live around here?" He looked up, squinting against the light. "Yeah, down the road a bit. Name's Jasper. You the new folks at the old Wilkins farm?" His voice had a drawl, casual and friendly, like he'd known her forever. Leela nodded and introduced herself. They chatted about school, hers starting in a week, his at the local one-room setup, and the boredom of rural life. But when she mentioned the farmhouse, Jasper's eyes sharpened. "That place has stories," he said, hopping off the fence. "Folks say a woman named Ilara lived there way back. She vanished during a bad storm, searching for her lost kid. Some think her spirit's still wandering the fields, looking." Leela felt a prickle on her neck. "Like a ghost?" She laughed it off, but Jasper didn't smile. "Not the scary kind, maybe, but weird stuff happens. Shadows that move wrong, voices on the wind." He shrugged, but his tone held a hint of warning. They exchanged promises to hang out again, and Leela rode home with his words echoing in her mind. Was that what she'd heard in the barn? That evening, as thunderheads gathered on the horizon, the family sat on the porch watching fireflies dance. Marcus sipped coffee, his gaze distant. Leela noticed how he avoided talking about Mom.
burying himself in repairs instead. Theo, curled in a chair, suddenly pointed to the fields. "Look, the shadows are playing." Leela followed his finger. Amid the corn, elongated shapes twisted unnaturally, not matching the setting sun's angle. They shifted like figures darting between stalks, silent and fluid. "It's just the light," Marcus said gruffly. But he stood up abruptly, ushering them inside. Night fell heavy, the air thick with impending rain. Leela lay awake, listening to the house creak. Footsteps echoed faintly from above, the attic where no one went, slow, deliberate, like someone pacing. She held her breath, counting them. 1, 2, 3. They stopped directly overhead, then resumed, fading away. "Imagination," she whispered, echoing her dad's words. But dreams brought a woman in a flowing dress, calling her name from the fields. The next morning, Theo woke screaming from a nightmare. "The lady was calling me. She wants me to come play." His face was pale, eyes wide with terror. Leela hugged him, glancing at Marcus, who rubbed his temples. "It's the move, son. New places mess with dreams." But Leela saw the flicker of doubt in his eyes. Later, while Marcus was in town for supplies, she confided in Theo. "What does she look like?" Theo described a pale woman with long hair, eyes sad but kind, matching the locket photo. Afternoon, Jasper came over, biking up with a bag of comic books. They sat in the barn, sharing stories. Leela showed him the locket. "Found it here. Think it's her, Ilara?" Jasper's eyes lit up. "We should check the attic. Old houses hide stuff." But as they talked, a gust rattled the doors, and whispers slithered through the cracks, murmuring names. Jasper froze. "Hear that?" Dusk approached, and they stepped outside. In the fields, a solitary figure stood amid the corn, a silhouette against the fading light, motionless. Leela's blood ran cold. It turned, as if sensing them, then melted into the stalks. Thea, watching from the porch, whimpered. What if the figure wasn't gone? What if it was waiting, just out of sight, drawing closer?
With school looming, Lila threw herself into settling in, but the shadows in the fields haunted her thoughts. Jasper became a regular visitor, his bike leaning against the barn as they swapped tales. He brought books on local history, dog-eared pages marking ghost legends. Ilara Wilkins lost her baby in a flood, he explained one afternoon, sprawled on the hayloft floor. They say she searches eternally, calling out. Lila shivered, the locket heavy in her pocket. Theo hovered nearby, drawing crayon sketches of a woman with hollow eyes. That's her, he insisted, holding up a picture. Marcus, overhearing, shook his head. Enough of that nonsense. Focus on real things. But real things felt slippery. Marcus grew more withdrawn, sorting through old boxes in the basement late at night. Lila caught him staring at a faded letter, his face twisted in pain. "Dad, what's wrong?" she asked once. He folded it quickly. "Just memories, kiddo, from when I was your age, stuff I'd rather forget." His voice cracked, hinting at deeper wounds, perhaps tied to his own losses before meeting Mom. Driven by curiosity, Lila and Jasper plotted an attic raid. While Marcus napped and Theo played outside, they crept up the narrow stairs, the door groaning like a warning. The attic was a maze of cobwebs and forgotten relics, trunks overflowing with yellowed clothes, broken lamps, and stacks of books mildewed by time. Dust motes danced in the slanted light from a small window. "Look for anything with names," Jasper whispered, his flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. Lila pried open a trunk, coughing at the musty scent. Beneath layers of fabric lay a leather-bound diary, its cover embossed with faded initials, E.W. "Ilara Wilkins," she breathed.
The pages crackled as she opened it, revealing elegant script from the 1920s. Entries spoke of daily farm life, then darkened. Mentions of a beloved child, a stormy night, and overwhelming grief. "She writes about hearing voices too," Lila read aloud. "Whispers from the fields, calling her back." Jasper leaned in, and look, sketches of a locket just like yours. As they delved deeper, the air grew colder, breaths visible in puffs. A page turned on its own, revealing a desperate entry. "The child is gone, but the land holds secrets. Beware the calls. They lead to truth or madness." Lila's hands trembled. Was this a warning? Suddenly, footsteps thudded below, Marcus ascending. "What are you doing up here?" he barked, eyes narrowing at the diary. "This isn't a playground. Old junk like that stirs up trouble." He confiscated the book, locking it in his room, but not before Lila glimpsed his expression. Fear, not anger. "Dad, why are you scared?" she pressed later over dinner. He sighed, setting down his fork. "When I was a boy, we lived near here. Strange things happened. Shadows, voices. I thought it was my imagination, but it drove my folks apart. I don't want that for us." His admission hung heavy, a new layer to his grief over Mom. Theo, sensing the tension, whispered, "The lady says it's okay. She knows Mom." That night, unable to sleep, Lila snuck into Marcus's room for the diary. Moonlight spilled across the floor as she flipped through, the words blurring in her haste. Whispers rose again, clearer now, echoing her mother's gentle tone. "Lila, come find me!" Heart pounding, she turned a page, and it flipped ahead unaided, landing on a chilling line. "The spirit guards the bloodline, but danger approaches with the rain."
The diary's words burrowed into Lila's mind, twisting her dreams into nightmares of flooding fields and a woman's desperate cries. Marcus's confession added fuel, revealing his own haunted past. He'd seen shadows as a child, dismissed by his parents, leading to years of doubt. "I bought this place to face it," he admitted one evening, staring into the fire. "But maybe it was a mistake." Theo's drawings piled up, each more detailed. The lady with outstretched hands, fields alive behind her. Jasper, excited by the diary snippets Lila shared, dug into town archives at the library. "Laura was your great-aunt," he reported breathlessly over the phone. "Your dad's grandma's sister. Family tie." Objects began shifting inexplicably. A chair scraped across the kitchen floor at dawn. Books tumbled from shelves, whispering pages. One night, during a power flicker from distant thunder, the full-length mirror in Theo's room shattered, shards scattering like ice. In the fragments, Lila swore she saw a pale face, not her own, smiling sadly before vanishing. "She's trying to tell us something," Theo said, unfazed, as if the lady were a friend. Subplot tensions rose. Marcus found old letters from his mother, hinting at a family curse tied to the farm's tragedy. Guilt over the car accident consumed him. He'd been arguing with Mom on the phone moments before the crash. "If I'd hung up," he trailed off to Lila, tears in his eyes. She hugged him, but the house felt alive, responding to his pain with creaks and sighs. Jasper and Lila pored over copies of records in the barn, piecing Ilara's story. She'd saved a neighbor's child from drowning, but perished herself, her body never found. "Guardian spirit," Jasper mused. That midnight, alone in her room, Lila heard scratching at the window. Peering out, she saw nothing but stars. Then, a soft glow emanated from her drawer, the locket. Opening it,
The photo seemed to move, the woman's eyes meeting hers. The air shimmered, and there she was, the spectral woman, translucent and ethereal, standing at the foot of the bed. Not menacing, but serene, her dress rippling like water. Leela's scream caught in her throat. The figure raised a hand, pointing to the floorboards. With a whisper, "Family's secret," she faded. Trembling, Leela pried up a loose board, revealing a hidden box with yellow documents, a birth certificate linking Ilara to their lineage, and a note about a hidden well in the fields, site of the tragedy. But one paper stood out, a warning of recurring floods every decade, next due soon. Was the ghost protecting them from a real peril?
Warnings from the diary and documents loomed as dark clouds massed, mirroring Ilara's fateful night. Marcus, shaken by Lila's account of the apparition, finally believed. "If she's family, maybe she's here for a reason," he said, gathering them in the living room. Theo nodded eagerly. "She likes us." Jasper arrived, armed with maps showing the hidden well, now a flood risk with heavy rains. Subplot climax: Marcus confessed fully, the argument with Mom about moving back to Iowa, his roots. "I ignored the signs then, not now." As lightning cracked, rain pounded like fists on the roof. Power outage plunged them into darkness, candles flickering wildly. Whispers swelled to voices calling names. Theo wandered toward the door, entranced. "She's outside!" Lila grabbed him as winds howled, shaking the house. Floodwaters rose swiftly, lapping at the porch, unnaturally fast, as if drawn by the land's curse. The ghost manifested fully, a luminous figure blocking the door. "Not again," her voice echoed, ethereal yet firm. She gestured, and waters parted around the house, diverting like a miracle. But Theo slipped out, drawn to the fields. Panic ensued. Marcus and Lila chased him through the storm, Jasper shouting warnings. At the well's edge, overflowing, the ghost appeared, lifting Theo from the brink, her form shielding him from debris. "My blood protects," she whispered, revealing her sacrifice was for a relative, the start of their line. The storm peaked, lightning illuminating Ilara's face, kind, resolved. As it subsided, she turned to Lila. "Release me. Bury the locket at the well." Her form wavered, a plea in her eyes. But as peace settled, a final whisper lingered. "One more trial awaits." What could it mean, with the waters receding, but the night far from over?
Dawn broke clear, the field sodden, but the house spared. Marcus, humbled, led the ritual from the diary, burying the locket at the well with words of gratitude. As dirt covered it, a soft glow rose, Ilara's figure appearing one last time, smiling before dissolving into mist. Peace descended, whispers ceased, shadows stilled. Marcus opened up about his guilt, therapy sessions following, bonding the family. Jasper became like a brother, sharing adventures minus the supernatural. Years later, adult Leela returned to the farm, now thriving. The experience taught forgiveness. Ilara's guardianship healed old wounds. Theo, an artist, painted her memory benevolently. Marcus remarried, content. Yet, on stormy nights, Leela felt a gentle presence,
a watchful echo ensuring safety. The haunting wasn't terror, but a bridge to the past, forever changed.